I've been saying I was going to do this since October 2025, and as of May 2026, I have officially sued New York State and the Office of Renewable Energy Siting for what it is doing to our environment in the name of clean energy. As the lawsuit says, I, as the president of the American Land Rescue Fund, in my capacity as the president of this nonprofit, have opened a lawsuit with the New York State Supreme Court over the redacted environmental files at Fort Edward Solar. You guys know, who have been following along with me, Fort Edward Solar is a 100 megawatt solar monstrosity sited for one of the last grasslands of its kind in not only the upstate New York area, but also all of New England. That is how ecologically sensitive and important this area is, as our state's own New York State Department of Environmental Conservation admits 10 of the 11 top grassland species of concern, threatened and endangered species throughout the state, 10 of the 11 live at this grassland. And the Office of Renewable Energy Siting, in bed with a foreign corporation out of Canada, Boralex, soon to become Brookfield, because they were acquired, ORES thought, you know what, let's site an 1,800-acre solar complex on one of the most biodiverse hubs throughout the state. What could go wrong? I'm what could go wrong. Back in October, I tried to find the unredacted files everywhere I could. You guys know, I went to the town of Fort Edward clerk's office, I went to the county clerk's office, I went to the town library, and I even tried to visit ORES physically. Unsuccessfully, of course. The public cannot meet with them, call them, they don't answer voicemails, they don't answer emails. They like to stay insulated and away from public scrutiny. They do not want to deal with rural New Yorkers. So I was unsuccessful in creating an appointment with ORES to be able to see these unredacted files. Funnily enough, 2 months later, ORES changed its office location for the first time since opening in 2020. Very interesting to be on the run like that. When I realized I was never going to get my hands on those unredacted environmental files, logically I understood the only way I would be able to see that information, and the public should be able to see that information to know the true extent of the environmental damage that's going to go on at the solar complex, I knew I'd have to sue. And in October of 2025, fate brought me and an incredibly brilliant attorney together to start strategizing how we were going to bring forth litigation against the state and the Office of Renewable Energy Siting. This is not the only lawsuit that we plan to file. Very careful, 7 months of strategizing has gone on between me and this individual, but it is the first lawsuit that I have filed against the Office of Renewable Energy Siting. So before I dive into the nitty-gritty details of this lawsuit, what we are suing over, and why you guys should care, because it's probably something that can be blueprinted around the US. First, a word from this video's sponsor, FSA Store. As you guys can see, I am sweaty and outside right now. It is hot. The pollen is floating through the air. So for me to be able to garden and weed and do all the things I need to do outside during the spring pollinating season of upstate New York, I need products that are going to keep me happy, healthy, and allergen-free. FSAstore.com is the largest online marketplace where you can peruse things like Zyrtec for your allergies, or first aid kits, which are absolutely things that are needed at small homesteads and farms. These products are eligible for a flexible spending account purchase right on the website. All 2,500 plus products are also eligible for tax-free spending, so there is no wondering if it's covered. We love that. And though I try to remember to wear gardening gloves when I am outside in the garden, like right now, I do forget and cut up my hands and arms constantly. So I need a first aid kit at the ready. I actually have it in my greenhouse right now. That's how often I am using it. FSA Store believes that personal care should be accessible and affordable, giving you access to things like Band-Aids that are needed to stay healthy for the long term. We don't need any infections here. Lord, do I need them, because I engage in a lot of what is known as chaos gardening here. There's not much of a plan, though there should be, and things get a little haphazard along the way. I wasn't kidding when I said I have my first aid kit outside with me here. FSA Store has me covered every single time. I also love that FSA Store sends you everything you need right directly to your doorstep. Visit FSAstore.com/AlexF or visit the QR code to start shopping today. My attorney has filed a lawsuit against ORES in New York State, like I've told you guys, but it's actually against the Department of Public Service, which ORES is nestled under in our state. They hide ORES behind the DPS so that they are not accountable or accessible to anybody in the public. We filed a FOIL, a Freedom of Information Law request with the DPS back in November asking for the unredacted environmental files at Fort Edward Solar. The DPS dragged their feet, obviously did not answer the FOIL. One thing led to another, and they violated the FOIL statute in New York State. They did not fulfill what was requested of them, and they hid behind different types of legal avenues and things that I could never have satisfied as a member of the public and a non-attorney. Our lawsuit is suing over their failure to comply with FOIL. But deeper down, our lawsuit is suing over the lack of transparency that has become acceptable at New York State. They are breaking the state's own law to hide things from the public. As the lawsuit states, it is impossible as it currently stands for the public to understand the breadth, the scope of the true environmental damage that is going to go on at Fort Edward Solar. And it brings up a law that the state likes to hide behind, assuming that nobody is going to do their research on this. That law is the Environmental Conservation Law, the ECL, that the state, the DEC, everybody loves to hide behind, thinking that the public will go, oh, there's a law in place, there's nothing we can do about it. The ECL was created for one very specific reason: to conceal information, GPS coordinates, related to endangered species nesting sites, specifically endangered species that only exist in one or two areas around the country. If someone was to find the coordinates of their nesting sites, they could essentially wipe the species out. That was the entire point of the ECL. It is being grossly overused with Fort Edward Solar. They are redacting everything from species description to the net benefit conservation plan that Boralex is going to have to make after they get their final permit that the public doesn't get to weigh into. They are redacting things like edge habitats and the amphibians that live at Fort Edward Solar. They are avoiding discussing the pollinators or the water altogether. They're hiding behind a law and improperly using that law to shut out public awareness and prevent environmental nonprofits and scientists, different people on the scene here, from being able to mount an accurate and formidable response to what they are doing. Which boils down to New York State, the Department of Public Service, and the Office of Renewable Energy Siting are unlawfully redacting environmental reports to make it easier for foreign corporations that originate outside of the U.S. to access and destroy our prime farmland and habitats around upstate New York, which begs the question, what kind of financial arrangements are going on between the different parties at play here? There is no other logical conclusion that can be drawn for a state to be misusing its law this badly, and for the state to violate its own FOIL, its own Freedom of Information law, for it to violate that, to chance being sued, so that we don't get to know what is going to actually happen at these industrial solar complexes, tells you they're hiding something. It tells you the environmental damage is that bad. The public outrage and outcry would be that bad. National groups might come here. The federal government might come here if we were allowed to know what was actually going to happen at Fort Edward Solar. I am proud to have sued over this. I will never forgive the other environmental nonprofits on the scene here at Fort Edward Solar that have sat by and done nothing. I had to form a nonprofit to be able to even fund this litigation back in October. There are scientists, there's Cornell grads, there's all sorts of people on the scenes here at these different environmental nonprofits that have been watching this happen. Like the National Audubon Society has sat by and watched this happen. The Grassland Bird Trust that has been on the scene here has only argued to mitigate the damage of fracturing the Fort Edward grasslands. Not only has that been unhelpful, that's actually aided the state in the circus of pretending that this isn't going to be catastrophic for the environment. All of these environmental nonprofits haven't wanted to rock the boat or sue the state like I have, because they are guarding their honeypot. They are guarding the Environmental Protection Fund money that they accept from New York State. That also includes the easement holders in this area. Everyone is in on the take. Everyone is afraid to go up against the state and call out exactly what they are doing here. So I will not forget who has sat by idly while I have had to go ahead and form a nonprofit, find an attorney, pay for a lawsuit, and spend 7 months strategizing to defend a biodiversity hotspot and the animals, the wildlife there that has no voice to defend itself. It's a sad state of affairs in our country today, and in the environmental movement, it has been so blindly co-opted by the climate extremists, by people who are convinced we're all going to die in 2 years if we don't switch to electric everything. It has been so co-opted by those people in the last 20 years that this is the situation that we are in. That a homestead owner with my brand new nonprofit has to step in and do what these institutional environmental nonprofits that have been around for decades are failing to do. All of that being said, I'm excited about what we are doing here. I'm hoping we're going to set some legal precedents. I'm going to be keeping you guys updated on everything. We've already been assigned a judge. I'm going to be reporting on this publicly before someone says, don't play your hand too publicly. You guys, this has been posted everywhere on all of the legal websites. We already have an assigned judge, and all of the parties named as defendants in this lawsuit were physically served this week by my attorney and her team. So that ship left the harbor, but for us to have any sort of win against these people, we're going to have to play an unprecedented game. And an unprecedented game is an influencer, really, honestly, at this point, a journalist that is screaming about what is happening on the internet. And screaming about it publicly has gotten me farther than all of these cowards at these different groups have gotten. As you guys can probably see in this video, I'm sweating. Like a typical upstate New York, we skipped spring. We went straight from the tundra to it is now 92 degrees outside. So apologies if you can see the sweat dripping down my face. That is the reality of owning a homestead in upstate New York. You can probably see the black flies flying around as well. For some reason, you know, we like to suffer from the weather here. I think it's a part of what makes us who we are in upstate New York, and it's a part of what makes me me, which is why I have a take no prisoners attitude as it relates to Fort Edward Solar and all of the other projects on the ORES docket. This is just the beginning. We are coming for all of those projects. We are coming up with ways to defend the entirety of upstate New York, and I always throw this out there. I will welcome the federal government to upstate New York at any time, waiting for the call, Environmental Protection Agency or U.S. Fish and Wildlife or the USDA, whoever. I welcome you here gladly and happily. I will give you a tour. I'm happy to share with you what I have learned. I promise you it will be worth your time. I will link to our petition in full in the description of this video. I have it uploaded to my nonprofit website, AmericanLandRescueFund.com. It is going to cost a significant amount of money to bring forth the scale of litigation that we want to bring forth, so we are accepting donations. They are greatly appreciated. I could not do this without you guys. I will have that link below as well. With that, for all of you dealing with commercial wind and solar sprawl countrywide, I see you, I hear you. Please feel free to write in below with what you are experiencing. I try and read everything. It is my hope we're going to set legal precedents here in New York State to help you guys, and we're going as fast as we can. Like I said, I promised we were going to sue, and sue we did. I am a woman of my word. Let this video show that. I think I need to go jump into a river nearby because it just is that hot right now. Hang in there, guys. More updates coming your way from upstate New York. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like me talking about the insidious renewable energy sprawl across our country, subscribe. If you want to hear me talk about starting a small homestead of 6.74 acres in upstate New York, subscribe as well. I promise you it will be entertaining. All right, guys. Bye.